that profit that we've had on those rentals, we have not touched at all. It's always getting reinvested.
Hey, welcome everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Mindset and Wealth. I am your host, Jose Cereceres, and with me, my beautiful wife, Denice.
Hi, Denice Cereceres here.
Good. And today we want to talk to you guys about investments and what type of investments you can get into and some of the investments that we like the best. So I would like to start with Denice. What is your take on this, on investments?
The first one that I want to talk about is the 401k. I know that when we used to work for corporate America, this is one that we heavily invested on. Well, not heavily, but we definitely took the what's the word? Help me out here, Jose. We took advantage of that our employers were matching our 401ks. So both of us were maxing our 401k when you worked at AutoZone and when I worked at, the banks that I used to work for. So if you work for a company and you're not contributing to your 401k, you're sleeping on it, because a lot of employers will match dollar per dollar up to a certain percentage. So I understand right now things are a little bit tough, but if you can make the adjustments to at least invest what they're matching, it's going to go a long ways. Now, if you're self-employed, there are other options. And, for self-employed, you make sure you talk to your financial advisor, because there's things such as a Roth IRA, a traditional IRA, a SEP, a 401k. Believe it or not, as a self-employed person, you can also have 401ks.
401k owner. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are just like some income-based, I want to say, small investments that can go a long way.
And I think those investments, what the 401k is great for retirement for sure. Like if you work for a company, and if you're not investing, like you were saying earlier, I remember the first time we did it. It was a hit at the beginning of our paycheck, and we felt it, right? But a year after, as you were getting used to and accustomed to have that paycheck, it was fine, and after that, it was just great,
seamless.
And didn't felt it anymore.
It's seamless, right?
Correct.
After you have a few paychecks, you kind of accustom your spending habits with that particular paycheck.
Correct. And so if you're a self-employed person, that's when you can jump onto some other ones. I think those type of investments are great for like retirement and things like that. And I like those to set them up, talk to an advisor so you can get those set up. And if you work for a company, they can take them from your paycheck, or if you're self-employed, you can be making sure you're being deducted from you. So those are fantastic.
Yeah. The other one that I find really, really fascinating too, we actually even have our kids investing in this one, is the SP 500. Now, I know it's great and I know it's very diversified, but I think Jose really does a great job at explaining how the SP 500 works.
Well, it's an index fund, where the best 500 companies of the United States are together. So the cool thing the reason why I like that a lot is that we've been seeing the last 20, 25 years, you always see the SP 500 going up, the index fund. And the reason why is because it's composed of the best 500 companies on the country. And so and they get changed if they're not doing so well. So that makes you very good. Because sometimes, let's say you invest on Amazon as an example, or Coca-Cola recently. If you have money on Coca-Cola and it made a dip and you're like, I lost all my money, right? But by investing on the SP 500, it's pretty cool though, because if one of the companies is not doing so well, then the other companies are doing well. So your money is well protected in that way. It's well diversified. So that's the reason why I like that type of investment quite a lot.
And honestly, our kids, they love doing this. We do have an account for them as well. So they get to choose the 5, right? They choose 5 of their top companies. Of course, Emma has Lululemon. I mean, Jose has, they both have different companies they really like. Of course, my little guy, Jose, is going to do Amazon because he's on there all the time, right? He's contributing to the growth. But
and he makes sure he contributes to that stock.
But it motivates you, right? Because we consume from these companies. So why not invest and get paid back on those monies? So I know that, at least for me, the stock market, can be a little bit intimidating because it's very aggressive. But at least with the SP 500, it's, like you said, diversified. So Correct. If you're not very comfortable with the stock market, where you're just putting all your money into one particular company, this is a perfect way.
Yeah, I think nothing is safe because, as you know, work
That's why it's
on the stock
investment.
in the
Yeah.
stock market, it can always go down, right? But it's one of the safest because of that reason.
Yeah.
And year over year over year, you see that stock continuously to go up and up. So I think that's great to start an investment on any company. That's a great one to start with.
Yeah. And we're going to go over three. There's a lot different ways to invest, but we're just sharing the ones that Jose and I have heavily invested on. The other one is obviously real estate. Real estate. If you don't own a home, you have to buy your first home. This is probably our only investment that has given us, well, it's our largest investment, right? That has given us the largest return. And there's so many different ways you can invest in real estate. It starts with your primary home, right? So you have to have your primary home.
That's right.
And you know what? A lot of people have the misconception that in order to become an investor in real estate, you need 20% down. And that is not the case. You can convert your primary residence into a rental and buy another property with 5% down. I can't tell you how many times people tell me, hey, I want to buy another house, but I don't have 20% to put on the next home. You don't have to. You could do as little as 5% down. And what's really cool about this is that you are renting, you're going to rent out your current primary residence. And a lot of times, depending on how much cash flow you have, meaning how low the monthly mortgage payment is, with rents being as expensive as they are, you can utilize some of that cash flow money to pay for the new mortgage payment. So, you know, real estate has been, for us, in our case, very, very rewarding, right? There's been a lot of profit there.
Correct. And I have a lot of clients that's exactly what they've been doing, right? They obviously the first time, and this is very common that it happens, you buy a house for the first time, you know, and sometimes it might not be the dream home you wanted it, but it is better than renting by all means. So they buy the house, obviously, because they like the house and they wanted to purchase one. But they always tell me, Jose, I like the house, great. I'm so happy to buy a home, but this is not my future house, my dream home. And I said, look, that's okay. You know, in a year, 2 years, we can work into getting you the dream home. And now you even can become an investor, which is fantastic. And they love that idea to be able to say, you know what, that's great. I'm using this as a stepstone, right, to start my investment portfolio, and at the same time stop renting altogether. And I've seen a lot of clients that done that, where they bought the primary home the first time, you know, eventually a year or 2 years later, it gives them the opportunity to finally buy the home that they always wanted, and then become the previous one into an investment and a rental. And, you know, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And just to give you guys some ideas, because I know some people are like, well, I'm not a first time home buyer, so I can't have access to like down payment assistance programs. But there's a lot of 401ks, actually, probably almost all of them, that will allow you either to borrow your own funds so you can take money out to buy the house. Right? So you're essentially borrowing your own funds, and you guys have to get with your employer to get all the specifics. But I know, at least for us, we have purchased property using our 401k as a loan. I'm paying my 401k back, so I'm not taking it out from the stock. So it's invested in that realm, but at the same time, I'm using those funds to secure another real estate property. So it's like almost like the money's invested in both areas, right? So if you're like, I'm interested, but like, where do I get the 5% down? Look into your 401k, especially for those people that have been employed with the same company for many years. That's how you come across the 5% down.
You know, what's so beautiful about doing a loan with the 401k is that you're creating a loan to yourself, and you're paying interest to yourself, which is fantastic. You're not paying interest to no one else but you. So if you borrow 10 grand against your 401k, they're going to take money from your paycheck to pay that back. But all that interest, it goes directly into your 401k. It's to you. So it is the best way to borrow money. Don't borrow money for the heck of it, please. It should be a good reason
Only real
why.
estate.
It should be a good reason why you're borrowing money against your 401k, but it's the best way to borrowing money, because you're borrowing money against yourself and you paying interest back to yourself.
Yeah, so real estate in that realm, right? So you can convert your home into a rental and purchase another property with 5% down. The other thing you could do, if you've had your home for a long time, you could utilize that money to maybe invest in something else, like maybe like perhaps your business. I just recently helped out a gentleman where he leveraged the money that he had in equity in his home to open up his own business. He had been a painter for many years and decided to take cash out refinance and open up his own shop. So, I mean, real estate, you could do a lot with it and you can continue to reinvest the profit. And as you guys can see, like we get very creative. We're going to maximize the 401k and we're going to invest or not invest, but the growth, the equity, the profit that we've made from that investment, we're always looking in different ways how we can reinvest utilizing the same profit that we've had from that particular account. So you could do that with 401ks. You could do that with real estate. You could do it with all. Well, I don't know if what's set the SP 500. You can't do a loan on those, right?
No, that's a little different, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. Look, we have a couple that they've been buying properties, I want to say every 2 years, and they've been investing in properties. They buy some apartments, and now they have built a portfolio of 6 properties, and they want to continue to purchase more. And the beautiful thing is that their goal is to eventually get out of work and have these rental portfolios pay them every single month. And they're going to do that, right? They're a very young couple. So they're going to definitely accomplish that, where eventually their rentals are going to be enough to where they can just quit their regular job. So that's great. And it doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be like quickly you buy many houses. It could be a little at a time as you put in the money together. Then you buy another property and you continue investing little by little like that. But sure enough, if you do that in a term of 10 years, you can have a good portfolio of rental properties in your favor.
Yeah. And you know what? The other day, not the other day, but a while back, I did help a young couple. They purchased their home, and I guess there's a website where you can find roommates, and it's roommates for school. So that it's, people that, are safe people, I guess. And they were renting out rooms. So they were already being landlords while living in their primary home. And they were looking to purchase another primary home with 5% down, and they were going to do the same thing. So they rent the rooms. So honestly, real estate, the opportunities are endless, right? There's so much that you can do as far as renting. You could do Airbnbs. You could do the per room rentals as well. So, you could get very creative.
That's actually pretty interesting,
Yeah.
I know there's a young lady, not a young lady, but there's a lady that I was talking to where she has rented a couple of the rooms, and then I think there's another couple that they do the same thing. So, that's a good way to use your property in a way to do that,
There's definitely a heavy rental market because we are seeing a flow of people coming from other states. We've had so many companies open up shop here that we're seeing a lot of people, come and move from other states. So there's, again, a lot of demand for rents. Now, I know that we have had multiple properties where we do the one where the state funds it, the Section
8.
Are you able to maybe give us a little bit more insight on those?
Yeah, absolutely. So Section 8 is the government, either Glendale, Phoenix, has given them like a voucher for rental. And depending on the size of the family and the size of the property will be that. And I noticed that it's a very steady income for you as a landlord to have a property that is being rented by a Section 8. So you provide housing for them, and that's fantastic. So you help them out for families who need that. And at the same time, you have a steady paycheck coming through from the city in Phoenix or Glendale, or whatever the case might be. So that's a great way to start. We recently helped out a client that bought a fourplex, right?
Yeah.
And he put every one of the tenants were from Section 8. So it was very easy because he knew the money was going to come, and he just needed to provide a good place to live. And that was great. He has several fourplexes and threeplexes right now.
Yes.
And I want to say 70% of them are from Section 8. And, he's helping them, provide them with a place to stay. And at the same time, obviously, the city helps you with income with that.
Yeah, no, I was really impressed with that client because he kept purchasing back-to-back fourplexes because he sees the demand, right? And I don't think it's very hard to get approved with the section 8, right?
No, obviously you want to
As a
talk to the
landlord.
city, make sure the house is in good conditions.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want to provide a good place for people to live in there. So yeah, it's not that difficult. There's obviously some inspections that need to be had, but that's great because at the same time you're helping the community.
Yeah. And something that I really like, guys, when we started becoming landlords, I remember Jose said, we're going to open up a completely separate account. You're not even going to look at it. Like, that money is invisible. It does not exist. And I remember that the money kept growing in that account, right? And it was nice because if we had an emergency where we had to replace, if we had to do any repairs on our rental properties, there was always money there in reserves. But what was really cool is that at some point we started having enough income or enough profit in that account where we've been able to purchase more real estate property.
Correct.
Because now we haven't touched that money. So that profit that we've had on those rentals, we have not touched at all. It's always getting reinvested. So that cash flow that we're getting from the rentals, again, it just continues to get reinvested in our rental portfolio.
Absolutely.
All right. So with that being said, not every investment Jose and I have made has been absolutely successful. Jose has a really interesting story to talk about crypto. And like I said, the only reason we're sharing all these advices is because we've made our fair share of mistakes and we want you guys to learn from our mistakes.
So, crypto was fairly new. I met a guy who was talking to me about investment in Bitcoin in this particular case, and I kind of liked it, and I was like, okay, I want to give it a try. And obviously, the Bitcoin in particular was going up, and it was very new. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. And I started investing on the crypto, and it was going good. And I remember you were not too happy that I was investing in that. And I get it. I think a lot of people still to today have a very bad connotation about crypto, right?
Honestly,
till today, even though it's like I think it's $96,000 today.
Okay. It did not, guys. Just for insight, it did not make me feel comfortable. It was such an uncertain type of investment, because I was hearing it wasn't real money either. So
no money. I think
exactly,
that's the
real money or whatever. So
that's
why it's so important for you guys to be aligned, because I had very limited information and I did not trust it. But this is the funny part, Jose. You can tell them how this one ended.
So I was investing on crypto. I was telling Denice, look, it's doing good, and I was following it as much as I could. And so she was so adamant because she was nervous about it. I get it. And so she made me sell the crypto. I think back then it was worth $700 or something like that. Today it's worth $96,000. But anyways, when I sold it after $700, I don't remember exactly the amount, but it went crazy 7 months to 8 months later. And I was showing her, look what you just make me do. I was so upset. It still hurts today. Back then, you have no idea. I don't think I talked to her for like a whole year or something like that. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
It wasn't like that. But it was. That's another investment. I think crypto is so fascinating to do that. I think cryptocurrency, and if you want to invest on that, first of all, make sure you're playing with money that you don't need.
That's the thing. I think that when you invest in money that you don't need, or know that the ultimate thing that can happen is you lose the whole entire money. I think what happened, Jose, is like, I don't think I was okay with the possibility of losing it. But now I know every time we go into an investment, you can literally lose it all. So you have to invest knowing that you're not relying on that money to pay for your bills.
Correct. And like I said, and granted, cryptocurrency is still a topic that is very hard for people to understand. But here's the funny thing though, like just now, recently, we're going to be talking to a guy who's going to give us a class on our brokerage about using cryptocurrency to buy a property, to buy a house.
Oh, wow.
It's exactly.
Oh, wow.
So...
Well, people are entitled to change their mind, right? And I did after I saw how much money you could have made. It's okay.
So it's still like an investment that, is it real money? Is it not real money? Is it happening? Is it not happening? I understand. But yeah, believe it or not, I think is definitely something that it might continue to grow, right?
Yeah.
And granted, I think any any stock, any currency, whatever, I can't even say that word, but anything like that, if you want to invest,
Yeah.
you want to invest something that you maybe are able to lose necessarily,
with losing,
or
yeah.
okay with it, because yes, it is very volatile, right? And not anymore. It used to be very much back in the day, not as much anymore.
Yeah.
But still, like today is $96,000. Yeah, I'd be someplace else if
So,
I did.
so guys, see, just to show, Jose and I've had our fair share of really good wins, our fair share of some losses, but we've learned it from it, right? So again, the moral of the story: invest responsibly, and make sure you're both, if you're married, you both are in it, and have all the data in front of you, so that later on you're not having these conflicts. Because this is like it's from 10 years ago, or I don't know, 5, 7. Who's counting? But yeah, you got to invest knowing that the ultimate thing is you can lose it all or you can gain a lot.
Yeah. So in regards to investments, just going back to it, if you work for a company, 401k is probably the first thing you want to do. If you're self-employed, you want to look into some of those like the SEP, the IRA, even the 401k for owners. So look into that with your financial advisor. And then my favorite, I think real estate is definitely the best, less risk at the same time that any other investment. There's more millionaires that have gotten rich because of real estate. So I think that's probably one of the best ones. And then lastly, you want to play a little bit, maybe the cryptocurrency, I don't know. But definitely those are, at least on my eye, the top three for sure is the 401k, the IRS, and then obviously in
and the
real
SP
estate.
500.
Oh, I'm sorry, the SP 500, yes.
And see, as you could see, Jose and I have done a great job of diversifying. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. That's the last thing you want to do. So we've been very fortunate to be able to diversify and invest in all these different types of accounts.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for sticking until the end. We truly appreciate you giving us your time to share our story. Please make sure to follow us on social media, and we will see you next time on Mindset and Wealth, where we help one another build an empire.